Section 5.6, Compound Interest Tables. Our objective for today is to find the compound interest earned using a table and the compound interest formula. Think about this essential question. Would you want your interest calculated using simple interest or compound interest, and why? So let's take a look at one of these and then we'll think about it in a simple interest kind of way, and we'll come back and answer this question. This could be a short answer question on the test, so be aware of that. Example number 1, State Bank pays 6% interest compounded quarterly. So 6% quarterly. She deposited $3,000 for 2 years. She made no other deposits or withdrawals. How much interest did she earn during the 2 years? So if we were to do this the way that section 5.5 did, we would have to do 4 quarters for year 1, 4 quarters for year 2, and then add up all the interests or find the interest at the end. There's another way to find this using a table in the back of the book. So we're going to try that today. It's a little bit faster. Excuse me. So the first thing we want to do is figure out how many interest periods that there are. So we have quarterly, which is 4, for 2 years, so we have 8. Okay, like I said before, we have 4 the first year, 4 the second year, which would be 8. The interest rate per period, so the interest for the whole entire year is 6%. And we want to divide that into 4 so that at the end of the year, you can only get 6%. So we have 1.5% per interest period. Our table value we get by looking at the back. It is table A11. So look in the orange section, A11. You'll see that that is quite a large table. Down the left side, you'll see the periods. So we need to look up 8 periods. We're going to follow it over until we hit the 1.5% column, and then we're going to go down and meet the 2. So 8 and 1.5% would be 1.12649. Once you get that table value in the back, we're going to take the amount, which is $3,000, times that big number that you just wrote, and we're going to multiply it. 3,000 times 1.12649 is 3,379.47. So that's the amount that's in the account at the end. The compound interest would be 3,379.47, and you're going to subtract out 3,000, which would be $379.47. Okay, now what this means is each interest period, you get 1.5% interest added into your balance, so your balance becomes larger. So if we look at the simple interest formula, $3,000 times 6% times quarterly, all right, we're going to do 2 years, so I'm going to go back up. I'm going to go times 2. 3,000 times 0.06 times 2 would be $360. This is how much they would get using simple interest. And if you look at what they made using compound interest, they get a little bit more. They get almost $20 more. So the answer to this question is compound interest. And the answer is because with simple interest, money is gained on principal alone. With compound interest, new interest is added in, new interest is added, then calculated. So compound interest is more. So example number 2 is a little bit of an algebra question. So we have the formula. P stands for principal. So I have them defined below, and that is the present value that you're putting in there. The R stands for the rate per period. To find that, you take your interest rate, divide it by the number of periods per year, just like we did in the last part. The N is the number of periods altogether, and we did that in the last question as well. The only thing that we're not going to do is use the table in the back. So this one uses this formula. Instead of the table. So when would this be useful? I know in some ag classes they use this formula. The table in the back doesn't give us every single option that we could have. So maybe there's a weird interest rate that we're using that isn't in the back. Then we could use this formula instead. So Elliot deposited $10,000. Oops. A. P1 plus R to the N. Okay, so our $10,000 is our principal. So 6% annual interest compounded monthly. Monthly is 12. So we're going to take 6% divided by 12. So it's 0.5%. 0.5% would be 0.005. So when we put this into the formula, we have 1 plus 0.005, or if you want to, you can do 0.5%. I'm going to put the other one above it. Either one is okay. And then how many interest periods, how many interest periods would there be for 5 years? So if we have 12 interest periods every year for 5 years, we're going to have 60 times 60 periods that this interest is actually being calculated. So now that we have all that, we can type this into our calculators. 10,000 times, put those parentheses in there, 1 plus 0.005 or 1 plus 0.5%, whichever one you want to do is okay. And then raise that. You'll have to use the little caret key to the 60. So the amount is $13,488.50. Okay, so that's the amount. You would still have to find the interest, which would be $13,488.50, subtracting our principal, which is $10,000, so $3,488.50. Okay, so make sure when you're doing this that you give me this part and the other part that I have boxed as well. So again, do not use the table on the second part when they're talking about algebra. You would not have to memorize the formula for this, but you would have to know what those letters stand for.